Howdy, my name is Nonat, and today we're going over all of the changes that Paizo has made in the second official Errata of Pathfinder 2nd Edition. For those of you who aren't aware, the Errata is some slight changes and tweaks, usually just clarifications to the system, misprints or typos being corrected. But this time around, Paizo has changed some serious stuff. So much so that I felt like I needed to make a video about this. So we're going to go down the list in chronological page order and just go over all of the changes that sort of snuck into the system that you might not know about. Before we get going today, I want to hand it over to the sponsor for today's video, Beetle and Grimm's.
On a real night of gaming, you bounce from a core rulebook to the advanced player's guide, and of course your character sheet. But what if?
We created a single book specifically tailored for your character class with a massive character sheet to record every detail of your hero.
And then took all the official Pathfinder rules, spells, feats, and skills that you need for your class and your class only, and combined that with an expansive journal to capture your story. Character sheet, rulebook, journal, all in one.
The complete character chronicle is live on Kickstarter now.
Starting off with the whole clickbait title of this video, Alchemists have been so powered up, especially in the early game. First off, you can see under defenses, Alchemists are now trained in medium armor. This also goes up every time their proficiency with armor increases, so now you don't have to feel forced into playing a high dexterity alchemist. Before this, you really needed a solid dexterity stat, otherwise you were so easily killed, especially as a poor mutagenist. As a mutagenist, you really had to choose, do I take dexterity to survive or strength for damage? Now that they have access to medium armor, you can play a high strength mutagenist without feeling like you're losing out on armor class. Another massive change for alchemists is the level 8 feat powerful alchemy. This allowed you to, anytime you made an item using quick alchemy, to replace the item's DC with your class DC if it's higher. Well, this ended up being such an important feat that really every single alchemist used that they have made it a 5th level class feature that you just get as an alchemist. No more do you have to spend a level 8 feat on this feature, you just get it when you hit level 5. Absolutely incredible. Additionally, at levels 1 through 4, alchemists have actually received even more power. We can see here that the research field feature at 1st level has been expanded upon. The long and short of it is now, the 2 formulas you get from your research field are now known as your signature formulas. These signature formulas, when crafted during daily preparations, make 3 of the item instead of 2. So especially at 1st level, if you were a chirurgeon making lesser elixirs of life, every time you used a batch of reagents, you'd make 2. So let's say you have 4 intelligence at level 1, you could make 10 elixirs of life. Really good. Now at level 1, you could, if you want, make 15 elixirs of life. What this more so means is rather than spending all 5 of your reagents on elixirs of life, you can spend 3 of your reagents to get 9 elixirs of life and have 2 reagents left over either for quick alchemy or maybe to make some bombs. You won't get as many bombs since they're not your signature formula, but you're not losing out on your elixirs from making bombs anymore. You can make plenty of elixirs with fewer reagents to leave you extra reagents to work with. This is phenomenal. This is actually just a weaker version which gets upgraded at level 5. They've always had this field discovery feat, which you can make 3 items of your main item. If you're a bomber, you make more bombs. If you're a chirurgeon, you make more elixirs. Now, they just get to pick 2 signature formulas and apply this to those 2 specific items at levels 1 through 4. This allows alchemists to do so much more during the day, and in my opinion, makes them one of the strongest early game classes, almost no contest anymore. Alchemical alacrity has just been given a little bit more clarity, because when you use quick alchemy with alchemical alacrity, you make 3 items, and it never said what happened to the 3rd one. As a free action, you do just get to automatically stow the 3rd item when you use quick alchemy. Words are hard. Now, I'll be honest, if that's all you're interested in, you can leave the video now. There's not a whole lot more big, interesting changes coming in here. In fact, I'm going to be skipping over most of them, as most of them are just clarifications and, some fixes in text. Some bard feats like Lingering Composition mistakenly had a focus pool as a prerequisite. That's been removed because anything that would require a focus pool, if you didn't already have one, would give you one. So there's nothing that requires a focus pool in Pathfinder 2nd Edition. A big change that's in multiple places throughout the book, but I'm only going to need to go over once, is in Quickened Casting, because almost all spellcasters get access to Quickened Casting. But where it used to just say, if your next action is to cast a cantrip or spell, it now specifically states bard cantrip or bard spell, meaning you can't use Quickened Casting on your wizard archetype if you happen to be a bard anymore. You can only Quicken Cast your own bard spells. This definitely nerfs some multi-class potential between spellcasters, but it's not a huge detriment. Additionally, there's been a little bit of rewording in all of the archetype breadth feats. It's honestly led to somewhat of a nerf in spellcasting archetypes. Where it used to grant you an additional spell slot for all spell levels that are 2 levels lower than your highest spell level, it now specifically indicates all spell levels up to 2 levels lower than your highest sorcerer spell level for the sorcerer archetype. So now, even if you happen to be a wizard with access to 8th level spells, if you only have access to 4th level sorcerer spells and you take the breadth feat, well, you're only gaining additional spell slots for 1st and 2nd level sorcerer spells. This incredibly nerfs the breadth feat, which could really be used to grant you an extra spell slot in every single spell level if it's an archetype and you're already a primary spellcaster. This isn't too big of a deal if your primary class is martial and doesn't have spells to begin with, but this is a pretty heavy nerf in some character builds. The only other things they added in this errata are the olfactory trait, which is just things that can be smelled. And this was already in the bestiary, by the way. They just added this to the core rulebook. And finally, the last change in this errata, I don't know of any exact cases where it could apply, but there's specific text now that a summoned creature cannot control any spawn or creatures generated from it. So if you have a creature that passively or has an ability that summons another creature, perhaps you summon an undead that can summon undead, your summoned undead cannot control an undead that it summons. So you can't play down a staircase of I summon a lich that summons a ghost that summons a skeleton. You can't do that. Any creatures summoned in this way, I believe, just act normal and don't obey your summoned creature. So they can still be summoned, they just won't be controlled. And that's it for everything they announced in the errata. Obviously, there's way more to this errata, especially going over the first errata they made last year, which had a ton of different changes, but again, 99% of these changes are mostly clarity things and some simple typo fixes, some action symbols here and there. The big stuff was the spellcasting changes and the Alchemist change especially. So thank you guys for sitting here with me talking about it. I want to thank Beetle and Grimm's for sponsoring today's video. They are amazing guys, seriously. Link to their complete character chronicle Kickstarter in the description, as well as a link to their store where they have wonderful merchandise. I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day. I almost forgot to thank my patrons. There they go. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day. And until next time, no nat ones.